Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Dragon Slayer: The Legend of Heroes. In the last part we started off the game, and now we're back in Revere now that the grinding we've done for now is done. Everyone's level 8, that's what everyone's stats are looking like for now. So now let's head back to Aaron in the basement of the church here in order to actually progress. They will not let you progress until you reach level 8 even, so make sure you get that done!
My Lord Logan, I have been awaiting ye. There's bad news. A cave-in at the pits has buried many workers. We've been ordered to rescue injured villagers and bring them back home.
That sounds fishy to me. Why don't the guards do it?
Maybe they're afraid it'll weaken their defenses.
We could go and get them. This is our chance to sneak into the camp and free the workers. But remember that there's a powerful fighter there. If he catches you spying, you're in big trouble. He can't be so bad. The three of us will be more of a match to the likes of him.
What a brave man you've become, just like your father.
We need to rest before we set out again. And they do give you a free in there, even though you can actually just come down here and use that whenever you want. I actually use that plenty of times while doing the actual grinding. Because there's not a way for us to really use an inn in Sylvan yet. So when it comes to grinding, I recommend doing it in this area right here, because if you progress too far along this path to the northwest, over this bridge in particular, you start being able to fight tougher enemies, such as the Wildcats and the Blue Jails. The Blue Jails aren't much of note. It's the Wildcats that are the big threat at a lower level, because their physical attack is higher than most other things in this area, so be careful of them. By and large, though, most of the random encounters in this game aren't going to be a lot to write home about, because there's only a few that have, like, specific strategies you need to do. Like, I could think of one that has absurdly high physical defense and you want to use magic on them. I could think of, like, 2 that are immune to every type of attack in magic besides 1. There's not many you can't just beat by physically attacking. So that's the pits, that's where we need to go, but I'm ignoring that and moving along the path trying to stay away from enemies in the process, because I can get to the next town at this point, and there's much better equipment to buy there that'll make us much more prepared for the fights in the pits. And here we got Kill Toads. I think they might be able to poison you, but the biggest thing about them is they got some pretty decent defense for what we got at this point, and they just hit hard. Use Flame 3 with Marcus in particular to just take down at least 1 per turn. What you really want to be careful of in this area is the Prowlers. I think I run into one but run away so I don't show it on screen. They hit the hardest out of anything in this area, probably enough to 1 to 2 shot basically anyone in your party at this point. By the way, when you run away from an encounter, the enemy doesn't despawn, you just leave the battle and have to get around them a different way. In fact, you might notice that Logan and Marcus are at 1 HP. Even if you run away from a battle with characters dead, they immediately get revived with 1 HP, so you can just immediately heal then and there. With that said, welcome to Nigel. The main reason we're here is to pick up a wolf sword, armor, and shield for, I think, literally everyone in the party. Just because that's a really good upgrade overall. It's going to help us a lot in the upcoming fights. It'll even allow us to take care of the Prowlers and other enemies nearby this area much more easily. The big thing is, I don't have enough to get it for everyone, so even though we did grinding between parts, and even at the end of the last part, we're going to need to do some more. Overall, this game's got a decent amount of grinding compared to some other games at the time, like Final Fantasy IV has less, for instance, at least in comparison to the 2 games US release dates, but like most Dragon Quest games, I'd say, still have more. Also over here, we got this interesting NPC. You know the fool, I wonder how much I can scam from him. I'm your humble servant, your wish is my command. What are you scrounging around for? You can get a lot of almost endgame type equipment from him, but it's way too expensive, and even then I think if you have enough and try to buy it from him, you'll lose the money, but you don't get the item because he's basically just a scammer. Also, when it comes to selling equipment, as long as you got a genuine upgrade, just sell the old stuff universally. There's only a couple of cases in the game where there's equipment that is, it's lesser in this regard, but better in this. The attack and defense powers are just almost always better. The reason you really want to hit up Nigel, though, besides the equipment upgrade before the next boss, is for the 5 spells you can get here. All these are going to be useful game-long in their upgraded forms, especially. Leech and Slow take away from the target enemy's defense and speed, whereas Power Guard and Haste power up your target party members' attack, defense, and speed in respect. These are all really good, and you're going to want someone to at least have one of each of them in the long run. I tend to give all the buffs to 1 or 2 particular party members overall because their own speed, for instance, allows them to take good advantage of it and get them on quickly. Although at the end of the day, most of the boss strategies in this game come down to taking away from their defense or speed, buffing your own attack and speed, and then just hammering them until they die. The Pit's commander is supposed to be a level 11 fighter. That is true, but unlike the level gate where they need you to be level 8 before you progress out this way, you can beat the boss at the next area before you reach level 11, no problem. Can it be a hard fight? Yes, for one particular reason, but it's doable. And if you're wondering why I'm going all the way out of the way here for a second, it's because I wanted to get Ethan up to level 9 because he was so close.
Who goes there? No strangers allowed.
We're from Revere. We've come to help our friends who were trapped in the cave-in.
Be quick about it and stay away from the mines.
Okay, sure, jeez. My word, have you heard about the disaster? At first I thought a quake. My word, I was stunned. The noise so loud, there was dust. I remember it all. I was eating and... I'm sorry, friend. We have to find the injured miners. The injured? My word! Check the next building. Sort of our oldest. Why, I can remember... thank you. We really must go now. You leaving? Well, drop in for a chat, eh? My word. Jimmy Stewart, oh! Let's check the injured. If it isn't Mac, you weren't caught in the cave-in, I hope.
Marcus, it's been horrible. Get me out of here.
In good time. First, you have to say hello to the commander. Yikes, you're not going to talk to him, are you? Shit, we've got an appointment. See you later. Alright, guess we'll just go talk to the commander outright. You might want to say it before this.
What you want?
I am Logan, Crown Prince of Farlane. I hereby order you to release all prisoners slaving in the pits.
I hereby order you to la-dee-da-da. Give me a break. Baron Drax has got a reward on your head that's astronomical. And if anybody's gonna collect it, it's gonna be me.
Alright, time for I'd argue one of the hardest bosses in the game, the Commander. The Commander always starts off with the spell Calm. Calm is a battle-wide mute spell. No one can cast any magic at that point. So especially if Marcus goes first, open with your strongest flame attack and then just hope you have the herbs and attack stats to take down his HP before he hits you hard enough. This fight can be a nightmare, and honestly, even at slightly higher levels, like level 11 like they recommend, it can kind of just be luck-based whether or not you win. It's rough, but at least the luck-based boss fights being this early is kind of nice, because I'd rather have them be early in the game than at the end of the game, like certain Shin Megami Tenseis, for instance. And you get a free wolf sword for beating him. By the way, you can tell what the game counts as a boss fight and mini-boss just based off the music. Because if it plays the normal battle theme, you're in just a normal battle, even if it is with a story encounter.
Yipes, our commander!
Get out of here. Let's go help those people in the mine. In a lot of instances, by the way, Logan does move automatically.
What you want? Move along, boy.
We just smashed your commander.
Say what?
Put down your swords and let us by. Well, that was easy. The commander met with an accident. You're all free. Head for Revere and look for Aaron. Ah, look at all those sprites go.
Are you the guys that freed us?
This is just the beginning. I won't rest until I've freed my kingdom from the evil clutches of that accursed Drax.
Wait a second. Who are you?
Hey, watch your language, fella. You're talking to the Crown Prince himself, Logan of Farlane.
No kidding. A real prince. How about that? Well, my name's Giles, and I also got a bone to pick with Drax. You mind if I tag along and give you a hand?
Giles? You wouldn't happen to be related to that ill-reputed cut-purse Magic Fingers, Giles, now, would you?
I'd be a richer man if I was.
If you'll excuse me for saying so, Prince, I think we're doing all right so far. Being that that's the case, we don't need this guy.
Hey, butt out, boy. I'm talking to His Highness, not his lackey. Come on, Prince, what do you say?
I say no.
I'm warning you, kid.
Enough. There's no point in arguing amongst ourselves. Our enemy is Drax, and if Giles is willing to join us, well, we do need all the help we can get.
My thoughts exactly. You won't regret your decision, Your Highness.
Giles has joined, and thank God, because he's my favorite party member in the game. Natively high speed, and we want to really focus on that as we put points into it, as well as his strength. You don't really want to put points into magic for him, because while he can use some spells, especially towards endgame, you're just better off putting points into his attack and speed, because he's who you really want to buff to do hits on the boss fights, because he can get turned so much more quickly. In fact, in a few moments, I believe I go back to Nigel and give him the buff spells, because that means he can also take advantage of using them on himself or others very quick at the start of battle. You're also going to want to eventually put stats into his luck, just to make sure he can dodge things more reliably, but overall, I love Giles, easily my favorite party member. And here's what everyone's spell list is looking like at this particular point. I know I said last part I was going to cut out spell learning in some cases, but as I learned as I edited the rest of the LP, I was bad about checking my spell list at a lot of points in the game, so I'm not exactly the most consistent with that. And now we've jumped up some levels. Because they want you to fight the commander at level 11, I figured I might as well grind up to level 12 to be ready for the next circumstance, because we're coming up on some enemies that would be pretty tough otherwise. Plus, it allowed me to get some extra points for Giles and Ethan and all that. As for where I did this, honestly, with the equipment you get at Nigel, you can just do it around there, even fighting the Prowlers. You'll be fine by this point in the game to fight those enemies.
Welcome back, my lord. It was a brilliant operation. The captives are free and ready to join the resistance. Tomorrow the assault on Sylvan begins. Time has run out for Drax. But you look battle-weary. Now's your chance to rest.
I appreciate the forced-in usages. I feel like more RPGs need to do that. Rise and shine, today's the big day. We'll see Sylvan from that tyrant's grip. The troops are waiting for you outside. Hurry! Oh, what? One is not allowed to sleep in on the night of the big revolution? Nah, you know what? Fair enough.
Prince Logan, just look at these lads. You'll not find a finer bunch in all of Isrenaza. Aye, with these laddies by your side, it won't be long before you drive Drax out of Sylvan. Come on, lads! It's time we showed that tyrant Drax how we really feel about him. Down with Drax! Long live Prince Logan!
Down with Drax! Long live Prince Logan!
I think that was just most of the voice actors screaming in slightly nondescript voices. So now our goal is just to get to Sylvan, and I don't do it here, but if you actually wait a moment, eventually the NPCs leaving Revere do run out, and you get a funny little joke line of, "Where were ya?" when you get into Sylvan itself, implying that Logan just kind of held back a bit for literally no reason. It's a small detail, but I think it's funny. And war has already outbroke. You don't have to fight basically any of the guards here. Leave this to us. Your job is to hunt down Drax. Sure thing, we can just head straight into the castle in the south. And from here we want to head to the throne room upstairs, right where Aaron is actually.
Prince, Drax is hiding in the upper floors. Take care.
Is it really hiding if he's just literally in the throne room? And from here we want to head to the northeast. But before we get to Drax, we got a bunch of knights. These are the Sentinels. These are the knights you actually would have fought if you talked to them as Logan on our way out of Sylvan after escaping jail. And from the point in the game you first can fight them, they're a little strong, especially in the defense and actual physical attack. They can still do a decent chunk of damage now, but between the 4 characters we have and the spells we have, we can now take care of them no problem. They can just hit you hard, nothing really special otherwise. Make sure you're healed up though, because the Sentinels aren't all that await us here, and you're going to want to be ready. But before that, you need to fight at least one more Sentinel. I think you actually can only fight one of these, even if it is any one of them in the chain. It just triggers the next cutscene automatically after the battle ends. There are a lot of wording differences on attacks, by the way, when it comes to enemy physical attacks, but unless it's marked as a special attack, it's only going to do physical damage.
Step back, men. Give me some room. Allow me to show these rebels what it means to face a real soldier.
Even though we've already fought one of you, it's time for another commander, and just like the last one, he is going to get his first turn in as soon as he can and cast a calm spell. But because we're higher level at this point, you can probably get more than one spell in, or even some debuffs to make the rest of the fight easier. Leech, in particular, if you can get it out, is the one I recommend just to make every hit you do deal more damage in the long run. See, that wasn't so bad now.
Impressive. Truly impressive. I underestimated you, Logan. However, losing the throne of Farlane is only a minor setback when you consider the fact that my final objective is the domination of Isranasa. I should have taken care of you when I had the chance. Oh well, I'm sure our paths will cross again. Until that time comes, I bid you farewell.
Follow King Drax! And you can actually fight some of the Sentinels if you place yourself well enough before they get out. With that said, I wouldn't recommend doing this, especially if you're further to the right of where the Commander and Drax were, because you'll be able to get more experience in a single random battle coming up than you can from a fight against two of these guys anyway. So it's just not worth your time. Ah, crud. He's gone! The sneaky Baron was ready and had a ship waiting. Can you believe it? What a sly dog. Creeps, let's return to the throne room. Creatures no longer terrorize Farlane. And that's not just a woohoo we did it, this area is saved kind of text. That actually does have a gameplay impact, but more on that in a moment. More importantly, whenever you clear a chapter or a major thing like this, you actually get experience from doing that, and that's actually why I recommended avoiding the Sentinels at the very end, because you're probably going to get your next level there. The uprising is over, but Drax will be back now that we're done with Chapter 1. Welcome to Chapter 2, The Chase. My son, oh my little boy. Are you okay? Let me take a look at you. My, you've grown into a strong young man. And all we've been waiting for is here at last. You will be king. I missed you a lot, Mother, but I cannot and will not rest until that gutless swine Drax is eaten by the worms. Logan, you can't be serious. Think of the good you can do. My destiny lies with Drax. It is fate. My son, I can tell by the look in your eyes that you will not change your mind. You must choose your own path. But we want to make sure we talk to people around here. I want to give you this pendant. Doom's tear is set in the center. It's a fabulous jewel. Legend speaks of its power to destroy the world. Guard it with your life. Seems like a bad idea to give this to a teenager, but oh well. And that does actually take up an inventory slot, unfortunately, but there's plenty of room. Be careful, Logan. Remember, I love you. If I'm to see you again, your comments must aid and protect you. Stay together. Alrighty. Good luck in your quest of revenge, my Lord Logan. I would love to come along, but my place is here. So at this point, you can talk to a lot of people around, and they give general hints on where to go. We actually want to go to Nigel next for our next actual plot point progression. As for why, though, we have to talk to an NPC downstairs to know the exact reason. In particular, we want to talk to this particular NPC here by the staircase. The prisoners we questioned said Drax went west by ship, so that's why we want to head west towards Nigel. More importantly, though, now that Drax is deposed, we can access this castle's treasure trove, and there's some good stuff. The first 3 chests up here are just equipment upgrades. But otherwise, you're going to get a Salts, which is a recovery item from death. I forget if it recovers you to 1 or like half health. Either way, hold on to that for the long run. There's going to be a Warp Quill that sends you back to the last town you were at. Seeker Eye, which lets you see the map. This is a Telelens that marks where enemies are on the map. And here is a Mage Fruit that recovers the target's entire MP stock. Hold on to that for the long run, because I think it's also the only MP recall. It's sort of the only MP recovery item in the game. It's the only one you're really going to want to get a lot of. Thankfully, you can also buy those down the line, though. So, the Telelens. I say it marks enemies on the map, and you might think that's a little weird because they're already visible in dungeons, so what's the point? Well, that's because they don't work in the dungeons. It actually marks where enemies are in the overworld. Whenever you're just roaming the overworld between towns, enemies aren't truly random encounters. They're just invisible encounters you can't actually see, unless you use the Telelens, and that can actually help you avoid battles in case you're trying to, say, get from Revere over to Nigel without hitting an encounter. With that said, you might have noticed something on the way over. Because we've cleared Chapter 1, the entirety of the Farlane Kingdom is free of random encounters. There are no monsters from Revere all the way over to Nigel, so you can just roam about freely. The game does this periodically whenever you're done with the chapter, more or less, and honestly, I'm a real big fan of this. I think this idea is really cool. I'm surprised fewer RPGs have done something with this. But at the same time, it does mean any kind of super reliable grind spots aren't reliable in the long term. So here we are in Nigel, and we need to take a ship, and looky there, there's one. We can't just board it, though. We actually need someone to captain it. So let's go talk around with people. I forget if I mentioned this last part, by the way. You don't need to, like, press a button to talk to someone. You just need to walk into them, which can actually get a little annoying in some instances. It's a pleasure for an old son like me to meet the prince of the land. I command the boat that crosses the port to Eric to Midgard. That's lucky for us because that's where we want to go. I have a little bad news. Baron Drax was through here. He sent some of his filth aboard to splinter my mast. I guess he didn't want anyone to follow him. We won't be finished repairs before tomorrow. I'll see you on board then. Alright, so I guess it's time to use an inn. Thankfully there's one here in town, and something I do really like. When you first come here to Nigel, it costs 10 gold to use the inn. Now it's completely free for us. Which might be a running theme throughout the game. You don't pay for many inns. Hey, my money!
Your pardon, my lord. My apologies for waking you before the break of dawn, but we have a problem.
What is it, Ethan?
A delicate matter, my lord. I believe somebody's been helping himself to my purse.
Are you suggesting that there's a thief among us?
The possibility did cross my mind.
I'll bet it was Giles.
Curses, Marcus. I thought you were sleeping.
Just give me a few minutes with that Giles, and I'll get a full confession out of him.
Hold it down, Marcus. You have no proof.
Gentlemen, I think it's best that we keep our own opinions to ourselves and see if it happens again.
Sure, Your Highness, but if I catch that thief with anything of mine, I'll send him straight to the Seeker.
Well, that really reminds me of Vector from Final Fantasy VI now that I think about it. Or I guess, in retrospect, it's the opposite. Good morning, we're shipshape and there's a strong breeze for Windgard. We can ride the morning tide, all aboard. And thus we leave Farline behind, but this isn't a one-way trip. Whenever you're on a ship like this, you can just board the same ship to go backwards. If you ever wanted to, for some reason, namely probably to buy some earlier game items. Because not every store is going to have the same stock. That's not always going to be herbs and detoxins. And around here, we actually got some more equipment we want to buy. Lion Lances and Chainmails. We want to get those for basically everyone that didn't get one in the chests at Castle Sylvan. With that said, I don't have enough money for everyone to get one, so I'm going to be doing more grinding between parts. If memory serves, I go to about level 15 between parts with around 11,000 gold. This temple is open 8 days a week. Feel free to visit. Something about Brother Paul saying something about 8 days a week strikes a weirdly familiar chord. I'm sure it's nothing. So, there aren't many important NPCs to talk to here in Port Eric, but I do want to talk to someone up here in this house over here. Seeker, help me. Oh, Billy. What's going on? Why are you crying? My only son, Billy, taken by the Beast Garmaster, and ran off with him to the Red Cave. That place is slimy. What can I do? My son is gone. May the Seeker protect him. So Call to Hunter might be doing something with that. And also here in town, you can buy yourself some items. It's probably another herb and something. Most of the early game item shops aren't super worth it because even like the detoxins aren't going to be useful outside of a certain battle. And my inventory is already full. Like I said, you're going to want to sell regularly. Or at the least, if say you're getting too many just one-off battle use items like herbs or detoxins from enemy drops, you can just use the drop command in the menu, which I recommend doing honestly kind of regularly as well, because some of those battle use items don't sell for a lot. The main thing you're going to be getting money for selling is equipment. Also, I do recommend saving regularly. That's in the options menu. Although death isn't exactly the reason you'd want to save, because we're getting a little ahead of ourselves here. Game overs aren't very threatening in any of the Legend of Heroes games. At least that I've played. Like in this game, when you get a game over, you can return to the title screen, yes, but you have the main option to just go back to the last town you visited with 1 HP. So, game overs aren't exactly like be-all, end-all, gotta start over from wherever you last saved kind of deal. And the Trails games would really keep that going as well. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 3, we're going to meet back with me around level 15, and explore this new continent that we find ourselves on. See you guys then.